been, I can get big and loud because the inadequacy of feeling small, feeling unimportant is what got activated when she says things like, no. And so I can get big. So managing my stuff, I can't lead, I can't explore what the resistance is about if my inadequacy gets activated. Does that make sense? Or it gets activated and I'm not aware of it. I'm not aware of how I'm managing it. You know, later on, if I'm responsive, I may be able to sit with her and say, tell me more, what's going on? And then later on, I may be able to say, you know, kiddo, when I asked you to do X, I really expect you to do X. I know you were having a hard time. Okay? So manage. So it could be values too, right? I don't know if anybody else experiences this. My kids always want things. And they always want expensive things. Everybody else have that experience? And so I grew up in a household and value thriftiness and kids working for stuff. And so when they keep poking, it feels like entitlement. And then I can get, my values can get triggered that way, right? So it's not them pushing my buttons, it's them pointing it out and me paying attention to it and pushing it sometimes, right? Because I am entitled not to have entitled children, right? Yep. And don't personalize, right? So don't make it about you. This is kind of managing your own buttons too, but don't make it about you. It's not about you. When your kid says no, or you're working with a kid and they won't go back to class, it's not about you. It's not about their teacher. It's not about their home. It's about something going on for them. So don't personalize. Ask for help, consultation. Talk with other parents. One of the things that I've found that we do when our kids get into adolescence, we do a lot of consultation with people when our kids are young, but as we move into having kids in adolescence, we start to pull away. We get busy, they get busy, they begin to develop their own social network. We kind of pull away from the people that are, the parents that we were connected to in their social network. And so we don't intentionally consult, hey, this is happening in my house, how are you guys handling this? There's also shame involved in that, right? So being conscious about asking for support, seeing what other families are doing, if they're struggling and supporting them. And then self-care. We can't take care of our kids if we're not regulated ourselves, right? So 2 reasons to take really good care of ourselves, right? Anybody ever been on an airplane and they tell you about these masks that might fall down? Anybody been on an airplane and the masks dropped? No? Okay. I didn't want to, that could be a reaction for somebody if this happened. So I've worked with several pilots over the years, and I remember one pilot telling me that when those masks drop, you have about 5 to 7 seconds before the cabin depressurizes and you can lose consciousness, right? So it's kind of a big deal to get it on yourself because you can't help if you don't get it on yourself. The other pilot said that, it's just filled with laughing gas anyway. They just want you to be happy when you go down. I don't know which of those is true. Either way, the point is, I think, get it on yourself first, either so that you can take care of somebody else or you can be happy when you go down. I don't know. But the point in working with kids is that we have to be taking care of ourselves. Right? We have to be taking care of ourselves because there's nothing left. This is really hard for moms. This is really hard for moms, you guys. So if you're in a relationship with a mom, they need a lot of support to reassert the value of taking care of themselves. It's really important. And two, they mirror us, right? They're watching for how we're reacting. If we're watching, one of the news outlets that's polarizing us in whatever direction, and we're at constant state of hypervigilance, they're picking up on that, right? And if we're not taking good care of ourselves and we're not managing, at times we're going to get upset. That's okay. But if that's our state of being, our kids are keying off of that, right? So taking care of ourselves so that our kids are, so that we're able to pour into our kids from a spot. So we'll skip over. Functions of leadership, this is just functions of leadership in general. Safety, nurture, challenge, right? So first and foremost, it's making sure that safety is set. When we're in charge of a group of people, a school, a company, a family, first and foremost, it's safety. Is everybody safe? Okay? So Maslow's triangle, right? You need to be safe, right? Second is nurture. Well, these two are not in order. These are more in conjunction and finding the right balance. Nurture and challenge, right? Support, affirm, value, you belong, you're important, I care about you. How can I support you? And then challenge. I want you, with one of my kids, I want you to write a note about how you impacted our community here, our family. Okay, and you're not. He was. He had some. He called it grounding. We called it time to reflect on his behavior. I'm not sure where we get the name grounding. We just said you got time at home to reflect on your behavior. And he, the task was to put in words the impact a decision he made had on his community. And we'll sit and we'll explore that until you really understand, until we can talk it through, right? Challenge, right? So safety, nurture, challenge. First things first, safety. Parental involvement, when safety's been compromised, young people can resist sometimes. And so parental involvement is not a punishment. Okay? They may characterize it as a punishment, validate that, and I'm going to be involved, I'm going to help with this, I'm going to step in, I'm going to reset safety. It's important that when a teen is struggling, we don't go to challenge too quickly. We go to safety first and then figure out the formula of nurture and challenge, because we may push them into kind of wilting. Adult alignment is key, whether that's parents in one household, parents in two households, school and parents in conjunction, whatever the leadership structure is that you're needing to kind of reset things. If you don't have adults aligned, there is there's a void of leadership, right? There's an escape hatch for kiddo, and they will find something that they believe can meet their need, which may not really meet their need. Identifying, what's that line at which I need to step in. With older children, that line may fluctuate back and forth depending on what they're struggling with. And naturally, it gets a little further as we allow them more latitude to struggle. Safety is necessary, but don't forget about attunement. Okay, so attunement. Colossians 3:21, fathers, provoke not your children to anger, lest they be discouraged. So it's important to understand, to let them know that they matter. And here's some of the ways that we do that. Minimize giving advice. Just focus on listening. Think of yourself as a hand mirror, reflecting back whatever it is that the young person in your world is saying. Okay? Think of yourself as a hand mirror. So active listening skills, right? I hear that this is really hard right now. I hear that you're really hurting. I hear that this relationship has become a big struggle. Be conscientious of your body language. If their body language is vulnerable and your body language is closed, they will become more closed. If their body language is closed, can you make your body language open? Right? Negotiate a time. Work with them to find. So don't find a time where they may experience it as a sort of ambush. Right? Work with them on finding a time. Hey, this is really important. Things have been hard. I really want to understand where you're coming from, and just listen. So when here are 3 times that I have available. Right? If there's an unwillingness, be a little bit prescriptive, but create the platform, the runway for them. Validate feelings. Feelings are normal. Feelings are not the problem, right? Feelings are normal. Right? The expression or how we react to our feelings can be challenging, can create some problems. But feelings are normal. Inform them that they can have multiple feelings at once. It sounds like you feel this way, but you also feel this way. And then talk about how you want to respond to that when you're struggling. How do you want to respond? Triangulation, anybody familiar with the term triangulation or triangles in relationships? Okay, so Murray Bowen, one of the early family therapists, said the most stable relationship is 3 people. Okay, the most stable relationship is 3 people. When a relationship has some distress, it seeks to diffuse that stress on a third party or third entity or third thing, right? To kind of diffuse it a little bit, so I can either stay in the relationship or I can figure out what to do about it. We are often, well, a couple of things. We are often pulled into a relationship with our children, whether it's school, a friend, a sibling, the other parent, right? Some kind of psychic distress. Right? Part of our work is to maintain a healthy triangulation by seeing if we can help identify what is the issue. The issue is actually the space between, not this other thing. You know, your sibling, your teacher is not the spawn of Satan, right? Unless they are the spawn of Satan, but probably not. I mean, the chances are pretty small. What is the issue or the dissonance between the two of you? That's the issue, and see if you can help articulate that, and then identify what's the support system that you need in order to help you address this issue. That's the task in healthy triangles, right? It's a little bit more difficult with siblings sometimes, but it's to create a safe structure where they've got the skills to be able to address the issue, right? So doing the rescuer bit, right? Being triangulated in a way that they're asking us to save them, teaches them that they're incapable, and that we don't believe in them, right? And so we need to be really mindful about how we walk into that kind of triangulation. Another kind of moving into challenge, similar to how we handle the triangles. But begin walking in, what do you think about this? How did you form your perspective on what's happening, right? So we're challenging them to name how they formulated this perspective. How did you come up with that? Now here's where we start kind of pushing on them just a little bit. That's not really in line with our family's values or our faith perspective. Okay, so we're starting to push on it a little bit. We believe, that for one of my kids, he wanted to go over to a baseball game today, with a bunch of kids his age, and we were like, no. We believe that until you're a certain age, an adult chaperone is really important. When you leave our home, you get to create your own beliefs, right? So we're validating that there's a differential in perspective, and we're just naming this is how we're going to operate. So we're pushing it. And then another way to challenge is give them the framework. Here's the framework. You get to decide how you want to work within that framework. Okay, so you get 2 hours of screen time, or you get you get to go out with your friends on one weeknight a week, or you get to take one toy to preschool. Which toy do you want to take? I once had a mom, my middle guy, the 15-year-old, he wanted to take 2 cars to preschool one day. He wanted to take 2 cars. And I said, sorry, but you can only take one. He was melting down, because he couldn't have 2 cars. And this other mom leaned over to me when he was having a meltdown. And she said, that's why I let my daughter do whatever she wants. I was like blown away at that moment. I'm not sure where that mom and their family is right now, but I'm curious if that attitude persisted. The challenge, right? Yeah. So how do you want to work? You get one toy. How do you want to work within this framework? Right? That's a way to challenge to give them agency. Right? That's their way out. Decision making. Let's see. No discipline seems pleasant at the time, but painful later on. However, it produces a harvest of righteousness and peace for those who have been trained by it. So we do have an obligation to challenge our children, to lead them into growth, right? To create discomfort. We do not grow without discomfort. My 12-year-old right now, every day, his knees and shins and just legs hurt as he's growing. Right? That's our physiological, it's kind of a metaphor for all the ways that we grow. It doesn't come without discomfort. Right? Now, how do we live in that? So part of our work is to help kids sit in the discomfort, support them as they sit in the discomfort, validate that it's uncomfortable, and point out choices about how do they want to manage that discomfort. Right? How do you want to manage this discomfort? This is really hard right now. Here are some ways that you might benefit from managing in this discomfort. Role modeling, showing them how to be authentic and vulnerable in a developmentally appropriate way. We don't bring them into our spouses or co-parents or conflict with administration, but being human.